We are live. Welcome to the Maverick Entrepreneur Show. It is Wednesday, and that's time for our next episode. We're sitting at episode number 24 right now. And we are going to talk today about going on more paid vacations. I'm just going to do a little check here. Yep, my microphone's on and working, and all is well. The Maverick Entrepreneur Show is where I'm sharing practical tools, systems, and processes so that you can go on more paid vacations and make your life and business more amazing. Don't you want amazing and awesome and fulfillment of the dreams and goals that you have wanted? Business is a vehicle that'll drive and get you there. And one of the things I have a knack for, the way my brain's wired, is just to create order out of chaos and look at a bunch of different dots and connect them and create more time and create more profitability for those I work with. And I want to share practical tools, systems, and processes for you today. I got 3 tips I want to share with you. And can't quite roll up my sleeves, but I'll push them up. I'll push up my sleeves so we can get down to business. There are some fun things that, just taking care of a little bit of technology here. There's some fun things that you can begin to do in your business that you may have not have thought of before. And when you start to just tweak that little adjustment, like it's a little rotation, a couple of degrees just off to the left or just off to the right, can make a big difference. And I want to share one of those things with you today, because the bottom line is spending time with loved ones, accomplishing your goals. I mean, let's back up. What does that look like, sharing time with loved ones? For me, it was dropping my kids off at school in the morning and picking them up in the afternoon. And when they're in elementary school, I mean, this is when it's fun, because when kids are young, spending time with them is just such a joy. There's just so much happening and growth happening in their lives. I would drop them off at 8:30 and I would pick them up around 2:30, 3 o'clock in the afternoon. My business afforded and allowed me to go and do that. It was amazing and wonderful. And I have such a great relationship with my 2 boys. I want you to have an amazing relationship with your kids. And if you're A, working a 9 to 5, or B, so busy in your business that you can't get away and do that kind of thing, that's a tough gig. Long pause there. Think about that. Or perhaps you don't have kids. Or perhaps you're thinking, when I said loved ones, it was your spouse, your partner, your wife, your husband, your boyfriend, your girlfriend, whatever it might be, of when was the last time we went on a vacation? I've been wanting to, or even talking about, or even promising to go on a vacation. You haven't done it. You got to do it. And part of it is having the handcuffs of your workaday world taking over your time and your profitability. I've talked with entrepreneurs. Let's talk about profitability for a moment. Revenue's great. I once talked with a guy that had high 6, even into 7-digit revenues on an annual basis. And he was borrowing money from the bank on his line of credit monthly to make payroll. Figure that out. That's just wrong. Right? Like, sad and unfortunate. I'm not judging the guy. It's just obvious. I mean, we all do the best we can. And he was obviously doing the best he could. And it just wasn't connecting. There was stuff he didn't know. Because he surely would have implemented it if he knew. Right? What's your profitability like? Revenues are probably good, and that's a lot of entrepreneurs that I talk to. Their revenue's solid, good, strong revenues. But what's your that's top line? Cool, solves a lot of problems. You want to have income coming in, incoming dollars, incoming cash flow, right? But how profitable are you? What's that profitability like? What's your net like? Which is the bottom line. After expenses, fixed and variable, have been taken out. Go into a lot of this at another time. I don't want to get too geeky on that, but just this broad picture of revenue in is one thing, but profitability comes, net profit at your bottom line, when you've taken out a bunch of the numbers. What's your profitability? And if you want to go on more vacations, you've got to have some of these things in place. Let's look at what they are. With the magic of tapping on my computer, we have this showing up. 3 tips on how to change your time and profitability equation. Number 1, leading the way in all this is systems. I got to tell you, whoa, I hit the wrong button. Number 1 is systems. If you are not systemized in your business, you have a little bit of a challenge going on. Systems, some people, I'm going to comment on this, resist it. They don't like them. Others are like, huh? So there's kind of 2 camps that I've found when I'm chatting with folks. And that is that people get systems, they want to have more in place, but they're just not sure where to start and what to do. Others are, curiously enough, resistant to systems, and they're like, no way, nobody's going to stick me in a box. Nobody's going to tell me what to do. The system starts telling me what to do. I want freedom. I want independence. Okay, nice. However, embrace what you think is a terrible, horrible, very bad thing, and be okay with systems. I love them. I've got a systems engineering background, and I was talking with a business owner last week, and I mentioned to him just in passing. He said, "Oh, Bertolt, what's your background?" And I threw out, systems engineering, psychology, operations management, business management, yada yada. He goes, "Where'd you go to school for your engineering?" I said, "Waterloo." He goes, "Oh, you've got an actual systems engineering background," because his son, rather, is in that program at Waterloo. He said, "That's rare." He says, "A lot of people say they have a systems engineering background, but few actually have a systems specifically engineering background." Same words, different meaning. And he was impressed that I actually had one, and he knew what it was and where it was from, because there's very few, just a handful, like you can probably count them on your 2 hands in North America, that offer a true blue systems background. And systems in your business, systemizing your business, becomes a huge leverage point for both time and being able to step away from your business, and profitability of having the dollars that came in at the top line in your revenues, of being able to have more of those stay in your pocket than going to running your business or paying people or paying for services to get things done. So systems is a really key piece of your business equation that so many people miss and are not taking advantage of. What are some keys around the systems? It's being able to think in terms of how can you optimize? How can you leverage? How can you do more with less? When you see opportunities for that, start to look for them in your business. When you're working with employees, when you're working with vendors, when you're working with people that you've hired to do the thing that your product or services that you're offering. Now, for example, if you have folks that are working for you, I'll give you a quick one right here. Start using video more. What? Yes. Every one of us have the most amazing high-tech technology sitting right in your hand. And what I want to help you understand is how you can begin to use that. What you can do with a phone, what you can do with camera, is shoot more video of training things. So if you have folks that you're bringing on board, start carrying a camera around and take a video of yourself, of others that will be doing that similar role, to shoot video and footage, short little snippets of the tasks that need to be done. Why? Because you're going to leverage your time. If you've captured on video the training for the intake for a new employee, a new service provider that will be doing work for you, fill in the blank. Maybe you're introducing a new system or process or service into your company, and you need to train everybody on it. You have 2 people, you have 10 people, you have 100 people in your business that need to learn this new information. Well, videotape it, record it, and get it available to folks. There's all kinds of ways of doing that. Talk to your techie types. Heck, hit me up and I can help you with that as well. But when you are leveraging your time, maybe you're at home. Maybe you just had an idea. Oh man, if we showed them how to do it this way, right? You could then flip on your camera. I mean, just standing in the hallway by the door, right? The inspiration hit, boom. You pulled out your phone, you started recording, you now captured it, you get it on a server and accessible to folks, right? That's a way of systemizing your business. You're taking the knowledge out of your brain and getting it onto a platform that can be spread across and shared with everybody in the company. That's huge. Fantastic way to systemize. I mean, there's just tons and tons of ways. What I want to do is give you the bird's eye view, the heads up, the concept of having an eye to systemizing. And if you want more help with that, please reach out to me. I want to help and serve and support you to begin to learn how to do that. Let's look at item number 2. Tip number 2 of the 3 tips on how to get more leverage, more time and profitability happening in your business. This whole concept of ROI, a lot of people throw it around. You hear it all the time when it's related to business, but people often don't know what it is. And they're like, where's this equation? Where's the elusive ROI equation? I wish I knew it. I mean, that guy over there mentioned it, and that guy was talking about it. Like, I heard her talking about it. She knows what it is, but I don't know what it is. Well, here it is. I want to give you that equation. It's right here. Return on investment is the gain from the investment minus the cost of it. So it's the delta. What did you start with? What did you pay for it in the first place? Let's talk about, the burr in everybody's saddle, which is marketing, right? Marketing is a frustrating, necessary evil. It's like, do I want to pay for it? What's the ROI on it? What's the return on investment? And how do you calculate that? Well, marketing is, the reason it's frustrating is because, right, we throw money into it and where's the return? How do we get that return? So what you want to start to do, and in this equation, is look at the cost of a marketing campaign, the money you're putting out, and then the result back from it. And in marketing specifically, it's tough to measure the gain from it. So you want to put some handles on that and get some processes in place so you can begin to work the equation. You want to put some handles on the gain part. And so you want to be measuring with whoever you've hired to do the marketing for you of what the results are from it. And if you can't measure it, I'm going to throw out a tough stand to take with setting some boundaries in your business. Don't do it. If you can't measure the gain back from the result of a marketing effort put out, don't do it. Because you can't manage what you don't measure. You need to be able to measure things. So have more conversation with those whom you're hiring of, okay, good, all this creative stuff, nice. We're going to do this, that, and the other thing. Cool. How are we going to measure it? Please tell me that. I want measures. I want to be able to put some numbers on the meaning and create meaning from those efforts of marketing. Is this making sense? When you do that, you can then figure out the ROI. So you want to get the gain from the investment, the cost of what it took in the first place, subtract those two and find out what the delta is. So that's this easy equation. That's why I put delta over cost. You're going to use the same number twice here, right? You're going to have the cost of investment up above to figure out the delta of what the gain back was. And then you're simply going to divide that number by the cost of that investment. I like doing this in a generic term because you can then apply this ROI equation to anything. You just need 2 measures and you play around with some math. I got it right here for you, and you can figure out the ROI, the return on investment. And start being critical in your mind of looking at what's my return here? What's my return here? What's my return here? Don't just be doing things willy-nilly. Start dialing in and getting an ROI happening and calculating those numbers with the people you're working with. Teach your employees, teach your business people that work with you, your team. Maybe you've got some VAs, maybe you've got some folks that you provide 80% of what you do from a product and service standpoint, and you've hired others to provide that last little 20% or a quarter of what you do or half of what you do, whatever it might be. If you've got people that are working in your behalf, begin to teach them this stuff as well. Okay, let's look at number 3. Learn financials better. I find that folks are working in generalities. And when you're working in generalities, you can't have a good handle on what's happening in your business. I've said this before if you've watched other episodes. If you are working with your financial statements and getting them from your accountant on only an annual basis, oh my gosh, you got to talk to me. Let's get that changed. Talk to them, get that changed. Get them on ideally a monthly basis. You want to be getting your score sheet, your performance. What are you doing in the marketplace on a more frequent basis? Quarterly at the very least. Monthly is the best. Quarterly is the very least of getting your financials from financial statements from your accountant. And I was distracted there trying to flip the camera shot back. You want to get them on a more regular basis so that you've got your score sheet, you've got your income statement, balance sheet, right? Your retained earnings, where things sitting at, your expenses, a number of things that you want to be looking at on a regular basis so that you're closer to it. And if you're not a numbers person, well, let's talk about these two situations. If you are a numbers person, you get it, what I'm saying, right? And I've just given you a kick in the butt to go make that happen. If you're not a numbers person and you're like, oh man, I just don't like the financials and the numbers. I just like service and delivering and doing what I do. I'm going to tell you, you're not going to be able to go on vacations as much because there's a lot of nuances you're missing. And what I want to encourage you to do is change how you look at things. Change how you are perceiving the financials in the number situation. Look at the meaning behind the numbers. Start to do that. I was working with an entrepreneur and she was not a math person, and we were doing budgeting and getting into the stuff we're talking about here. And there was just this block and this struggle. And I reframed it for her. I said, hey, how would if you stopped looking at the numbers for numbers' sake and you started looking at them as simply markers or signposts to the story that's behind them? What's behind those numbers? What's the story behind it? What's the meaning behind it? So that when we look at these numbers on a spreadsheet, your stress level can go down and your shoulders can come down. You can relax a little bit because you know that this particular number here and this cell on that spreadsheet means, like, what's the whole story that goes back behind that number? What is the meaning for it? And they're like, oh, Tom, that's like amazing. And I've been helping folks just reframe that to the meaning behind the numbers if you're not a numbers person. That can just make it more palatable, more enjoyable, more fun, more creative, and more connected to the relationships of what the experience is, because there's people behind those numbers. There always is. That wasn't a good grammar there, rather. So there's always people behind those numbers. So identify what that is, what those numbers are. Let's get back to the equation. Or the words I've got here. So get more familiar with your financials. Just as a general rule, do that. Now, here's the next piece. Number 2 is to think in terms of percentages. Folks don't do this enough. And when you start to do this, back to the equation I had earlier, that's all. So percentages are ratios. And that's all that the ROI is. ROI is a ratio. We get a delta. And we put it over the cost. The delta is the gain from an investment, subtracting out the cost of it in the first place, and we divide by the cost of it in the first place. That's a ratio. You're going to get a percentage. We call that ROI. When you are looking at your financial statements, and I'm saying this term is think in terms of percentages, you're simply looking at a ratio. And a common one to use, if you're not familiar with it, in your business is to take your top line revenue and think in terms of revenues, and then take the different elements of your financials and put them as a percentage of your sales. So for example, you might want to figure out what your expenses are. How many fixed or variable expenses, or perhaps your cost of goods sold if you're a little more geeky. You can take that number and divide it by your top revenues, and you're figuring out what your cost of goods sold are as a percentage of revenues in your company on a monthly basis, on an annual basis, on a quarterly basis. When you start playing around with percentages, you start getting into ratios. You're not working with total numbers, and you're able to compare improvement better, and you can dig into your financial statements in a more creative and effective way, which the whole point of this episode here is getting more profitable. You can start to see how profitability can change, boom, like this. Wow. When you start to get this stuff, it's a lot of fun. I don't want to dig into it too much. I want to stay at a high level here. We do that with our programs, but this concept of getting more familiar with your financial statements and then thinking in terms of percentages becomes very effective. Take any number in your business, pull it out if it's a marker for you, and then put it in terms of your top line revenue, and you're getting a perspective and an awareness of your numbers in a way that you didn't before, and you can start to play with them in a really effective way and increase your profitability. Thing. I forgot a K. Thing in terms of ratios. Think in terms of ratios. There we go. We've edited real time. You want to think in terms of ratios, and I've been describing how to do that. We looked at the ROI up in the equation with number 2, and that's what you can do to become more profitable and to get more time back. Let's do a quick review, and we'll wrap up this episode number 24 of the Maverick Entrepreneur Show. 3 tips on how to change your time and profitability equation. Number 1 was get more systems happening in your business and systemize. Have an eye to where you can be strategic and begin to leverage your own time more and to begin to train your team more. Number 2 was think in terms of ROI and start looking at ROI, return on investment. And I give you an equation that you can use to break down for absolutely anything you want to apply an ROI percentage against or toward or put on it. I want to put some handles and some numbers on an experience. And what you're doing is looking at the gain from it, the cost of it in the first place, figure out what that delta is, the difference, and then divide it by the cost of it in the first place. And you've got a ratio, a percentage. Times by 100 if you need, and then it turns into a percentage. And the last piece was learn financials better. 2 points on that were to get more familiar with them in the first place, and then to think in terms of percentages. That wraps up our episode here today, and I am excited about what's going to happen and how you're going to apply these things. We've got a ton of things we like to share on the Maverick Entrepreneur Show, practical tools, systems, and processes that you need to get and go on more vacations, and that you can also make your life and business amazing. Catch us weekly at 10:30 a.m. Mountain Standard Time and 12:30 Eastern on a weekly basis on Wednesdays. Wednesdays is the day. I look forward to catching up with you soon. I'm going to flip my camera back to this one and leave you with a wish that you are able to spend more time with your loved ones and more time in your world because of your business being high performance. Get up into that stratosphere. Get up into that higher level place instead of just business being same old, same old. Kick it up a notch. Let's kick it up a notch and make it happen in a bigger, better, faster, more wonderful way. Catch up with you next time. Bye-bye.